All right. So, a few days ago, I watched one of the most emotional and sincere things that I have seen in a very long time. And it was from fouseyTUBE.
To anybody going through thoughts of suicide, who doesn't have somebody reaching out to them, who feels alone, who feels like there's no way out, I ask you and I urge you to please hold on. To please hold on.
Something about the video and the rawness and the honesty of what was to be his final video on a platform before he left YouTube altogether, moved countries, changed his entire life. Something in that really got to me. And I think there's an important conversation that we need to be having a lot more of. And that's about mental health. This is Buzz. Let's go. Did you see the last fouseyTUBE video? Yeah, and he's talking about going through a lot of suicidal thoughts, going through depression, writing a suicide note, dealing with a lot of really heavy things that have come to the surface for him, and then struggling with who he can connect with and everything that happened to him after that whole thing with that concert that he tried to put on back in July.
The second the bomb threat happened on July 15th, every single dollar I invested into the event, because I invested my money, was lost. The second a bomb threat happened, the second the call came in, all my money was lost.
It was really nice for me to be able to see someone like that open up and be really raw and really not caring how he's going to come across, but having this message that he really wanted to deliver to his followers, his subscribers. I never used to be a fan of his content in particular, but I remember he was one of the first exposures that I got to YouTube as a platform. And to me, growing up as a young Arab kid in a context that was very foreign to me, seeing somebody that was young and that was Arab and that was able to make something of themselves and be on this massive platform and make people laugh and entertain them, that meant a lot to me. I am very grateful for Yusuf. But it's interesting because what he touched on is a topic that has been coming up again and again on YouTube, among YouTubers over the last wee while. Over the weekend, we saw a video from h3h3 talking about the fact that he's been away for such a long time from YouTube because he's been dealing with depression himself.
Confronting that was hard because I always felt like it was like a weakness or something, and it's hard to admit to yourself that you're actually depressed.
Earlier this month, The Guardian ran a feature article talking about YouTubers feeling burnt out and interviewed a bunch of really prominent YouTubers who've been making content for several years with millions of followers, talking about how they've just gotten to a point where they feel like they're drained, where they feel like they're constantly chasing this number, this viewership that's going to give them the money that they need to survive. And essentially the idea that YouTube encourages people to make content as regularly as possible on a daily basis or twice a day, the way that we've been seeing people like Phil DeFranco and PewDiePie. It's that kind of consistent generation of content. A lot of these people are making entirely by themselves that is causing a lot of people to get to this point where they're feeling like they're out of ideas and they are anxious about losing the following that they have. They're anxious about their viewership going down, and they're anxious about the amount of money that they're getting per video. And it's such a hyper-competitive platform that this anxiety is felt by such a large group of people.
Despite feeling down, you still have to maintain this facade that everything is fine, everything is great. People are drawn to this persona where you're energetic and hyper, like all the YouTube videos are, because that's what people like to watch. No one likes someone mope away being negative on camera. So you feel bad about your content, you feel bad about yourself, and you realize, wait a minute, I'm not in such a good place as I thought I would be.
And given that it is Mental Health Awareness Week in a week's time from now in the US and some other parts of the world, I think it's a really important time for us to be having this conversation, to be talking openly about mental illness, about anxiety, about depression, and about suicide. We've been through a few years now where we've been shaken by several high-profile deaths, whether it's Anthony Bourdain or Chris Cornell or Chester from Linkin Park, and of course before that, Robin Williams. A lot of these deaths shake us and they make us wonder how this could happen. How did these people that we love, that have made us happy and entertained, end up taking their lives? How could they be so miserable and no one around them, even their family members in some instances, are aware of it? And I think it's a wake-up call for us to have this conversation and to be really honest about how our mental health is at, how it fluctuates from time to time, how it changes, and about some of the things that we can be struggling with internally where we feel like people around us don't understand, or we try and shelter people around us from it. And we saw that happening with Yusuf, with fouseyTUBE. He came to the conclusion, thankfully, that he needed to be open and honest and to reach out to people around him. Here's a quick stat. The World Health Organization estimates there's over 300 million people worldwide suffering from depression, and half of them also suffer from anxiety. It's something that I myself have struggled through for a large part of my life. When I was in my early 20s, I went through a very intense depressive episode. I thought about suicide. I had trouble doing basic functions in my day-to-day. I failed papers, I screwed up a lot of relationships. I thankfully got to a point where I was able to find people, or a handful of people, that were there for me, that were able to help me. One of them was a therapist who was a friend of the family's that I was able to go see and talk to, and he was tremendously helpful in firstly telling me that what I was going through was okay, but also helping me get through a process to change some things that were happening in my life and to get through it and figure out what was going to ultimately make me happy. It's something that really changed my outlook on life and changed my outlook on how I deal with myself. And I think one thing that I learned from it, above everything else, was that I needed to be gentle on myself. That the kind of gentleness and patience that I practiced with people around me, people that were close to me, that I was responsible to practice that first and foremost with myself, to be gentle with myself, whatever I was going through, and to surround myself with people that I knew were going to be there for me if I asked them to. And this year I've also been dealing with a lot of anxiety. It's something that I haven't had to deal with in the past, but has made a lot of days difficult for me. And it's something that I'm trying to process. And so I think the best thing for me and for anyone else that's dealing with mental health, whatever it is, whatever spectrum that may lay on, is the fact that we need to be more open with it. We need to talk about it. It is not a stigma. It's not a taboo anymore. It's something that has become a lot more acknowledged and accepted in our society. And there are avenues for people like us, for people that need help, whatever that help may be. Please reach out to those people around you. Go see a therapist. They can be tremendous help. If you don't like the therapist, go try another one until you find someone that feels like a friend to talk to. Don't overlook the idea of medication. Medication has helped and millions of people. But also be kind to yourself. This is a super heavy episode.
Yeah, man.
Hold on.
What, a week?
I'm gonna
lighten things up a little.
just gonna lighten things up a little bit.
Okay.
So thought I'd look like an idiot for the end of this episode, just to maybe lighten the mood. Thank you if you got through this. Thank you for watching. That was super heavy, I know. Please leave a comment if this meant anything to you, if you would like to contribute to this conversation. But even if you don't, talk about it with other people around you, talk about it with your friends or your family. And if you are going through this, please find someone that will listen to you. If that is a therapist, please go talk to a therapist. Go talk to your doctor. Go talk to your friends or your parents or anybody that is in your life that can help. Because there is a way through this. I promise you there's a way through this. And it might not feel like it now, but you are going to look back on this day a year from now, 2 weeks from now, a month from now, 10 years from now, and you're gonna be like, thank God I am still here. And that is a powerful sentiment to hold on to. And that is something that is gonna drive you through the rest of your life. I'm gonna leave you with this very uplifting video of a man and his cat. So this has been Buzz. Thank you for watching. Go live your life. Hey. All right. Bye, guys. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that I learned as well is that I came from a community where nobody talked about depression, no one talked about mental illness, and it was the difficult thing to talk about, because when you open up about it, people thought there was something wrong with you, or that you're being lazy, or that you have gone astray for some reason, and that's starting to change. But I think part of it was me being like, hey, I'm going to talk about this, and I'm not going to be ashamed of it, and I'm going to be really open and honest. And when I did that, I started realizing that there were other people that I knew that were going through these things as well. And some of them reached out to me, and some of them didn't, but listened to what I had to say. And that was an impact that I could put on this issue and help break down this taboo. And thankfully, there are other people now. And thankfully, YouTube is an environment, I think, to a large extent, that accommodates this conversation. A lot of prominent people have stepped forward and talked about this. And all of that is changing people's minds and changing people's lives and saving them in some instances.